You can't expect your customers to pay for your inefficiencies.
Right.
So we're going to talk about the time value of money. Elon Musk trades time for money. Everybody trades time for money. It's the biggest bunch of horse anybody's ever said in the history of the world.
It's okay. You're just stroking out for a minute. Just take a dip.
There's psychological reasons you price things certain ways and reasons you don't.
The water bottle in an airport is astronomically different than the water bottle on a shelf at H-E-B.
As an employee or a contractor starting out, if you want to figure out how much you're going to charge for something, number one.
Let's get back on track.
Okay, to make $1 million a year. So phase one. Hi, I'm Perry Belcher, and welcome back to the Trainwreck Show, the show that answers the question, why do tigers eat their young? I'm Perry Belcher. I'm the unstoppable force of sales, along with Miss Emma Rainville, the immovable lava rock of operations. Hey, what's up?
You're something else.
How you been?
You know, living the dream, working with you, so...
Oh, well, dreamy. How dreamy is that?
Right.
Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about today?
I'd like to talk about how you took your grandmother's name and destroyed it.
Yeah.
Today, I don't remember what we were talking about because we went through...
Gee, let's look at the sheet.
I can't see that far.
Maybe she's blind and old. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about the time value of money.
Time value of money today.
Yeah. So we get a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions when we're doing shows or when I'm working with our people in the driven mastermind. We've almost 1,000 mastermind people. And one of the big things that comes up a lot of times is pricing. And people price straight out of their ass 9 times out of 10. And we'll do
marketers price straight out of their ass.
We'll do a full episode on pricing. But today, before you decide how you're going to price a thing, there's psychological reasons you price things certain ways and reasons you don't.
When I came into this industry, I came from a different industry and it's based off COGS.
Right.
And while you're
it's a terrible model.
I get it now. It took me years to conform. COGS is still important because you don't want to lose money.
Right.
But you have to understand the downline and the lifetime value and all that other great stuff.
I came out of retail where a lot of times they say, well, the first landed cost is X times XX. And that's is price. And restaurants do that. A lot of people price that way.
And with marketing, it has to be, with our businesses, it has to be what is the value that you can perceive times X. Now divide it by no-brainer.
Yeah.
And that's the price we're going with. So figure out how to make it cost that.
Right. Yeah, and you really have to do it that way because the market sets the price.
Right.
It always sets the price. There is no cost plus X. There's none of that bullshit. And I've said for years and years and years, especially when you're starting, and I'm going to talk about something completely different in a second. It's not going to be necessarily pricing, but it's going to be more time value money, which ties into pricing sort of. But you can't expect your customers to pay for your inefficiencies.
Right.
If Walmart can sell a widget for $10 and you're paying $9 for the widget because you don't have the scalability, you don't know how to import, you don't know how to bring value to that product, you don't know how to build brand around it, and somebody else does, you can't expect to sell your product for the same amount of money or more money and the customer just be willing to pay that. It pisses me off in Austin, Texas, when you walk into one of these little shops down here and a little leather wallet that I buy for $1.45 is $60.
Well,
but they're wrapping experience around that in most cases. You're in a store in a certain kind of environment with a certain kind of people. Maybe they're on vacation, maybe they're partying, maybe they're drunk, whatever.
We talk about the water bottle a lot. You talk about the water bottle a lot. The water bottle in an airport is astronomically different than the water bottle on a shelf at H-E-B.
Yeah. Or at Costco, where you can buy 48 a thing for like $2. You know?
Right.
And so you kill somebody bringing them to my door from Instacart, you know. But yeah, and we saw it. I was in Vegas last week, again, visiting this time, not living there right now. And a bottle of water at Caesar's Palace was $9.
Crazy.
And it was a private labeled bottle of water. It was
but if you would have gotten that bottle of water from inside your room, that bottle of water was $17. Right. $17.
And it wasn't a Desante water or a Fiji water. It was just a water.
Spring water.
It was a 10 cent.
Spring water from Costco and Sam's Club.
But the environment you're in makes a difference in pricing. That's a manipulative pricing to some extent. But what I want to talk about today, because a lot of people that watch this show have been told this giant lie.
That By marketers who write books.
Right. And that you can't ever trade time for money. You trade time for money is the worst thing you can do, right? Well, I know a lot of surgeons that trade time for money. I know a lot of lawyers that trade time for my money.
Right.
I know a lot of people trade time for.
We just got a bill from Ryan Potiti. Absolutely.
I trade
to the 0.10.
I trade time for money. Emma trades time for money. Elon Musk trades time for money. Everybody trades time for money. It's the biggest bunch of horse shit anybody's ever said in the history of the world. So you can go two ways with this thing, right? And we watch it all the time with people at different levels, because people have never really sat down and quantified
what their time is worth.
What their time is worth. And your time is worth.
Time is priceless.
Yeah.
Time is the only commodity that you have that you can't truly put a price tag on it, because you can't buy more of it.
I mean,
Steve Jobs,
with all the goop and shit that I watched her put on before she went on camera today. She tries like a son of a, but is it working? Come on, somebody vote. I'm just kidding.
We're going to ignore you because you're a jackass. But Steve Jobs couldn't buy more time.
No one can.
No one can. No one can. So there's this misconception of time allocation and what time is worth, and your time is now priceless because you can't buy more. And it is, but it's how to spend your time in the right things, charging the max amount of money for those right things. And so let's walk through that.
And you can either spend your time or you can invest your time.
Yeah.
And I think that's an area that people really don't get. So on the first bad side of this, you see a lot of people that come in, take trainings from people, especially marketers,
right,
telling you, well, you should go sell this thing for, it's always $5,000. I don't give a shit what it is. It's $5,000.
Always.
You should go sell this for $5,000. When they may not have ever sold.
Or $4,997 if they're a good marketer.
Right. And maybe the person teaching you has never sold one of those things for $5,000.
This is the thing that pisses us off.
But they're going to tell you they're going to do it.
Right.
And then you get.
Let me teach you how to sell on Amazon.
Right.
Can I see your Amazon store? Oh, I don't have an Amazon store. Why would I have an Amazon store?
Or
my time is spent teaching you how.
Right. And some poor schmuck buys that
for $4,997.
Goes out in the market and looks like a monkey's ass.
Moron.
Trying to go in and tell somebody, give me $5,000. I'm going to do this thing for you that I've never actually done before.
Right.
So you have to value your time. You have to balance it, right? When you start doing anything, the first things I've ever done, when I started doing something I didn't know how to do, I sold everything I sold for practically nothing. I didn't make any money to speak of, maybe enough to eat, because I was getting trained. There's nothing that will train you faster than dropping you into grease and having to perform for somebody. So we had a client of ours not too long ago that again has been in this situation where they were told to go charge a whole lot of money. They did what they were told. They went to ask for a lot of money with a straight face, which takes a lot of cojones.
For sure.
And then either didn't get clients or then did get clients, and the client was like, well, this is
not what you told us.
This is not the quality of result that I was looking for. And it's the quickest way to burn up your reputation. Because if I go out and price myself for perfection, I better be fucking perfect. Right. And
100%.
People do price.
No, you better be perfect plus. And so if you think about it this way, people will price themselves out of their jobs all the time.
Yeah.
So they'll negotiate for a higher salary, which makes a lot of sense, unless they're not worth that amount of money, and most of the time, right?
And so they don't ask for it based on an ROI.
Right.
I've been here a long time.
Right.
My rent went up. Whatever. I don't give a shit.
Inflation, whatever, but you haven't increased your contribution. Right. So if we wouldn't look at an employee as, hey, you're charging me $120,000 a year, but you're only worth about 65. I could replace you for 65,000.
Right.
Why would a company keep them? Why would you then go charge people? Because you're not going to get that recurring spend from people and the reputational damage.
Yeah. And you need a baseline, right? I think that one of the things that I've always had is a longer term thought pattern, understanding, because I was a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out offering a service to business owners and you've never been a business owner,
right,
it's really tough because you don't understand the position the business owners in.
Right.
The business. I had somebody the other day on a Facebook post of mine. I was asking, what would you expect from a $90,000 a year?
That post pissed me off.
Did you see that post? What would you expect for a
There are comments on that post.
What would you expect from a $90,000 a year executive assistant? Because I'm looking to hire an executive assistant. And there was one lady in the post that was like, well, you're trying to get them, you want to get a lot more than you're paying them, and that's bad for the employee. Yeah, I have to get.
That sounds like an employee who commented. It's an employee comment.
To get a lot more for my money.
Right.
And from an employee standpoint.
By the way, a $90,000 salary for an executive assistant is far over median wage where we live for an executive assistant.
This lady, by the way, I would come in at 9 o'clock and I would do what was asked of me. At 5 o'clock, I would forget the job completely.
And that is why you will forever be an employee.
Broke as
that's why you will always be an employee, complaining that they want too much out of it.
As an employee or a contractor starting out, if you want to figure out how much you're going to charge for something, if you say, I'm going to do this service for Perry, I'm going to do this service for Emma, and I know I may fail, I may really screw up, but at a minimum, I can make them $1,000. If I screw everything up, I'm still going to make them back $1,000. Then I would say charge them about $250 or less. Any employer is going to need at least a 4x ROI on any investment they make. Now, as I've got better and better.
Can I throw a caveat in there?
Sure.
Do you mind? I love the 4x.
Yeah.
If it's something that a lot of different people can provide. If it's a very niche thing that very few people can provide, not that very few people have out there, but very few people can provide, then 2x is where you want to live, my opinion, if that makes sense. So if I can hire a photographer, right, and the photographer costs me X dollars, I want to get 4x on him because there's 350 photographers that I can go buy. But if I want to work on an HVAC water coolant system that there's only 200 people in the whole country that are certified to work on, I only need to get 2 times my investment.
Yeah.
Because so there is a little bit of thought process.
And that goes into supply and demand.
Right.
Ratio.
Right.
If you can demand that really your value of your time, frankly, it's a factor, right? And the factor is how many people can do what you do. You know, it's like a doctor, an MD now, they don't make much money.
Right.
200 grand a year.
They're not even making that now.
If you're running your practice really well, a dentist is making more today than an MD doctor.
General.
But if you're a neurosurgeon, you can still make
$2-3 million. You can make $2-3 million.
$2 million a year.
Plastic surgeons.
Because there are fewer and fewer of them. If you're going to spend your time selling your time cheap to learn something, try to learn something that's in
very niche,
high demand,
right? Very niche, high demand.
That's in high demand. So, but you are going to have to go do it and build yourself a track record. And that's kind of phase 2. You know, phase 1 is
let's talk about that for a second, though, because I want to give some primary examples because I don't want to run over this because it's important. And so when you started out 50,000 years ago, back when there were horse,
I was writing copy with a stone tablet and a chisel.
Right.
Wait, there's more.
But when you started out, when you began,
sure,
and when I began, we weren't charging next to what we charge now. Not even close. So when you started, I mean, obviously,
I did a lot of free work.
I did a ton of free work. I spent 2 years consulting for companies and saying, pay me what you think this was worth.
Yeah.
Sometimes I got screwed. Sometimes I didn't. But what I got was the experience under my belt to be able to do what I do. What I got was a whole bunch of people that would go, oh, that girl is amazing.
Yeah.
We would go and I would make sure that people were in the right groups, right? And when I walk into a room, they may say things
even
about
if
me.
they couldn't pay you, they could say something good to somebody who could.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you got people, Julian Reyes, I won't go through everybody, but Julian Reyes, one of the best examples of this, he needed some help with some things. I happened to be friends with him. I helped him with a whole bunch of things. I never got $1 from him. The introductions that...
Cheap bastard.
He's a Jew.
Julian,
He's a Jew.
You cheap bastard. Send Emma money. She's broke. She's poor. She needs more goop for her face.
God, my soul is the only thing poor.
Gabe, Emma needs goop for her face.
Anyway, Julian Reyes made a lot of introductions and opened a lot of doors for me. And when people were questioning, like, who is this girl? Is she going to be capable of things? He was well known in the industry as the 10 other people that I had helped out, right? Yeah. And so I gave of myself to learn off their dime.
Sure.
And I did.
Well, normally but people will absolutely go, I don't want to do that. But I'll go stroke my name on a student loan at a university, learn some outdated shit, myself $100,000 in debt,
140, 150 out, get paid nothing,
and get a piece of paper that's going to do fuck all
for me
in life,
nothing for me. But I won't go work for someone super cheap or free to learn the skill. I know
my value.
Right, but you don't
I know your value too. It ain't dick.
You don't clearly, and I think that's something like when you look back at some of the people that we see, Qasim Aslam.
Yeah.
I said it like that on purpose. Jason Fladlin, Matt and I'm trying to think of all the Driven members that I know.
Paid to write 100. He didn't get paid $100,000 to write his first webinar.
Absolutely not. I'm pretty sure Jason paid to write his first webinar. And so, like, these are highly, highly, highly successful people at what they do because they understood that the education and the experience was far greater than their worth. I was on a call we were on our way here.
Picking up favor, with people. Go ahead.
I was on a call on our way here where, someone's employee thinks that they're far, far more worth, their worth is far greater than what it is. And so, it's if you can trade some of your time for learning and experience, that's worth far more than the money that you'll make today because it's going to be money in the future.
We had a digital marketer, I had interns.
Mm-hmm.
I had Molly Pittman, $15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Now
20, but yeah.
Now, no, I paid her $15 an hour.
I'm pretty sure she corrected you on that.
I don't think so.
Okay, $15 an hour.
I think it was $15 an hour. But anyway,
it doesn't matter.
Molly's made millions of dollars now. Greg Plummer, millions of dollars.
Ruben Rock,
$15. Ruben Rock didn't make $15. I think it Rock like $8 an hour.
I don't think you paid him sometimes. I think he told us you just forgot to pay him sometimes, but he just loved to absorb.
They were smart.
Yeah, he was hungry and he knew, like, I'm smarter than all of them because somehow I got you to pay me to learn from you. But you're a constant source of experience and education and the things that come out of your mouth that is just insane.
Get close to people that you can learn from and put in that year or whatever.
Yeah.
A year goes by like a fart in a car, man. It's so easy. You don't even remember it. But people are not willing to do it, especially today.
Mm-hmm.
They want to come in. We had a young lady not long ago work for us a month. Hey, what I got to do to get a raise around here?
Yeah.
You ain't done anything.
Nothing.
You're not doing the minimum baseline of your job.
Right.
You're asking for a raise.
Right.
Well, I got kids and I got rent. And
I'm so sorry.
No. So phase one is basically dispelling the lie that you ain't going to get passive income, right? Passive income.
This is why we don't do good on YouTube.
Passive, I don't give a fuck. Passive income, I have a lot of passive income. You know why? Because I made a lot of cash and I invested in stocks, bonds, and real estate. And that produces me passive income. Until you have a lot of cash, you're likely not going to have...
Passive income comes after a whole lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Qasim just did a post on this. I thought it was absolutely eloquently laid out. People want passive income. People want to lay down and do nothing. People want a 4-hour work week before they put in the work. You're what?
He was working 80-hour weeks when we wrote the book.
Right.
I know.
Right. But you I wasn't going to call him out specifically,
well,
but sure.
4-hour work week.
I know.
You might as well.
Everybody wants to work a 4-hour work week. I get it. But you're 60 years old.
Hey, wait a minute.
You're going to be 61 in July. You're 60. No, I'm not making fun of you. I'm actually being serious for a change. But you're 60 years old. And I remember one of our employees said, I want to be a CEO like you and Emma, so I don't have to work
so much.
And you and we had a conversation on Friday. I was like, hey, are we going to film on Saturday? Are we going to film on Sunday?
I made 85% of my wealth in the last 10 years.
Right.
So 85% of my accumulated wealth has been made in the last 10 years.
But the point I was making was you are 60 and we had a conversation. We've worked so many weekends in a row. We were going to film this weekend and you said, hey, let's take the weekend. And I was so excited because we haven't taken a weekend. Right. Neither of us have taken a weekend in months. in months. And that's common for us. Our employees and our staff.
I'm not proud of that in it.
Right. Well, it's because
there's a certain degree of inefficiency to that.
I mean, there's what you're creating and what you've been creating is multiple streams for a very long time. And you probably don't need to do this. I think you need to do this so that you stay alive.
I actually did a calculation in the middle of the night 2 nights ago.
It makes sense to me.
Believe it or not, at 2:00 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
I could quit everything today.
Mm-hmm. And live for 26 years.
I could live indefinitely. I have an indefinite amount of money.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to do this. I don't have an indefinite amount of money. I could meet my current financial needs. I live in a big, nice house. I drive a nice car. I got everything I possibly want. If I quit today, I would make, if I put just the cash I have in an annuity, I would have roughly 4 times more money per year
Than you do right now.
than I spend.
Yeah.
So I could quit, and that's going to be adjusted for inflation because I'm never going to take all that out.
Right.
So, but it's fun. You got to have a purpose in life. If you, I read this, I told you that we've read the book together, The
Courage to be Disliked.
And there's a whole chapter in about the only thing that really brings us happiness is being of service.
Yeah.
Being of service to other people, being of service to our family, our children, our clients, or whatever. It's the only thing that's ever really going to bring you joy. And so I ridiculously crackhead about
I think our Ignite calls where you're the 90 minutes of Ignite just answering questions
We're
of being a
7 hours doing a Perry-Palooza call.
Right. But I feel like you're the most fulfilled and happiest. Although it's exhausting.
I'm tired, but I'm happy.
Yeah, you're happy.
Yeah.
Let's get back on track.
So phase 1, get out of your damn mind that you're gonna. I'm gonna call my money in crypto. My kid, I love my children, and one of my oldest son's 25 now. And a couple of years ago, I said, "Well, what are you gonna do different next year?" It's like Christmas. What are you gonna do next? Well, I'm gonna work a little more and play more music. I want to start doing some investing. What the fuck you gonna invest? You ain't got no money. You
got a car. How are you going to invest?
I'm going to do some trading. I'm going to crypto trade. I'm like, you're out of your mind. All these things like crypto trading and what are the token things? NFTs and all that shit.
Or I'm going to be a guru when I haven't even done anything.
Yeah, or meme coins, things that there are all these things that are being created on social media to make you think somehow but they're going to sell. They're going to sell and people are going to give money because that's the dream everybody wants. That's a dream. I can just sit around and manifest my destiny. That shit will sell till the end of time because that's people want nothing. My buddy Mitch Miller wrote a paper. I sent it to you. It's called How to Sell Dumb Shit to Weak People. It's a great paper.
It's a great paper.
It's a great paper. And all you got to do is tell people, hey, money's going to fall out of the sky. You just follow A, B, and C, and D is going to be the cash register ringing. And then you don't have to watch it ring anymore because that's exhausting. And you'll just go sit by the beach and money will just roll in until the end of time.
Right.
And people will always buy that.
Yeah.
If you don't have any conscience and you're willing to go tell people that shit, people will always buy. Anyway, so number 1, get that first thing out of your head. Number 2, if you don't have a skill, there is no investment in the world you will ever make that will come remotely close to the investment you make in skill training.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn how to do a skill tomorrow for $500 that can pay you $100,000 a year for the next 20 years. You can learn
even $100,000 a month for the next 20 years.
Who knows, right? And like our Ignite people, they have so many opportunities. And I think we're finding, and we're going to talk about this in a subsequent episode, we presented too many opportunities to them because I want to bring them a lot of opportunities to pick the thing they really want, but it's a shiny object thing and they can't get around it. But whatever you're going to learn, like Lena said earlier, make sure there's a high degree of demand and a low degree of supply in that thing, right? I tell a story all the time how boob doctors in California, when there were only 3 of them, could make $200,000 a week. And now they're lucky if they make $200,000 a year because there's 1,000 of them, right? So whenever there's supply and demand is out of equilibrium, that's when opportunity happens. So do that. Number 3, once you've learned to be fairly good at something, and you're like, well, okay, I'm decent at this now. How do I charge for it? Well, before you even set a price, you got to one step back and say, what am I willing to sell my time for? How much is my time worth? What am I agreeable to sell my time for? And And I think that has to do less with what everybody thinks it has to do with and more with the second thing. Everybody thinks it has to do with your level of expertise. Well, if I'm an expert at this, then I should be paid more. I had a girl come into a digital marketer office years ago, and she'd never had a job before. She asked for $90,000 a year salary.
Right.
And she said that she needed $90,000. I said, how'd you come up with that? How'd you arrive at that figure? What did you make before? Well, I've never had a job before. Really? But you want to make $90,000? Yeah.
And this was 2 decades ago? About 20 years ago? 15 years ago?
15 years ago. I said, why did you, what?
So 90,000 is like 150 now.
How did you arrive at that figure?
Right.
And she said, I have dual degrees. And my degree in marketing should pay me $60,000 a year. And then I've got another degree in statistics. It should be 60.
But I'm only going to charge
But
you
I'm
30.
discount.
What an idiot.
I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. The skill level you have is important, but not imperative. Here's what's imperative. And the reason I make the money that I make today, 100% boils down to this one reason. You know where I was talking about a 4 times return on investment? I guarantee my students a 10 times return on their investment. I guarantee my customers I'm going to be 10 times better for them. They're going to have to get a 10 times return on me. If I can deliver a 10 times return, and even if I miss sometimes, I'd only give them 7 or 8, I want to be...
They're never leaving.
They're never leaving in a million years. And I'll tell you, it's much harder to get new clients than it is to retain them if you're providing a great deal of value. And that's really what's always sticking in my mind. So whatever you learn to do for someone, it doesn't matter if you learned how to do it last week. If you learned to do it last week and you're pretty good at it and it's in desperate demand and you can go do a service for someone that will give them instant money. I'll tell you a story. I had a young lady work for me years back. She wanted to get in the agency business and everybody was doing everything, right? They were doing email and they were doing copy and they're doing media buying and all this. And she realized that not many people were sending SMS. So she decided to just go to people and say, hey, I'll do your SMS for you. It's money you're not picking up off the ground, and I'll charge you X dollars a month. And I think it was $2,000 was the starting point. And if I don't get your return, don't pay me.
It's brilliant.
And she'd go out and get the client, send out 3 SMSs. They bring in 20 grand. Guess who's never getting fired?
Right.
You know, that's a great way to be. But you got to think about before then, how much time is it going to take you to do that? And how much is your time worth? Like, I know the value of my time. I'm not going to say what it is because you'd be like, he's an arrogant prick. My time's worth a lot of money to me. I'm never going to mow the grass. I'm never going to change the oil in my Tesla, ever. I'm never going to do all those things because
Because if you got on phone call after phone call after phone call selling Driven Mastermind.
Right.
If you got 4 phone calls an hour, you'd sell 2 Drivens at $35,000. That's why you would never shovel your own snow or any of that shit.
And here's the important point. Even when you get to that point, and you'll get there pretty quickly. You can get there in weeks, honestly, depending on how in demand whatever it is you're doing is. But probably it's going to take you longer than that to master a thing, but there's not too much mastery anymore. But what I see a lot of people do, I'll do that, but I still mow my own grass because I don't want to, I want to pay some guy to do that. Or I'm going to, I don't have a client today, so I can go do that thing. When you don't have a client today,
go get another client.
Either go get another client or just take the day off. Because the day of rest and reset is worth a lot to you. So you got to determine if you say, I think somebody, if I figured it out sometime back, it's not that much money, but I think $1 million a year is what, $367 a day, or so? Is it $3,600 a day?
I think it's $3,600 a day.
Is that what it is?
I think so. I'm the worst at math.
Yeah, it's $3,600.
Yeah, $3,600.
So to make $1 million a year, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make $1 million a year for a long time. Net money. But to make $1 million a year is $3,600 a day. When you break it down to $3,600 a day, it's not as scary a number. And you take that $3,600 and break it down by 8, there's 8 hours in a day, you make about $400 an hour. It's not that much money.
It's really not.
Right? So when you start looking at it that way, now, do you want to take that hour that you got?
Where's your time allocation going? Are you dumb enough to go do your own laundry?
Yeah.
That you can pay someone $20 an hour for?
I'm at Emma's house, and I was staying at her house we were doing something. I stayed at the house for a couple days, and I'd been there she knew I'd bought one little bag, and I'd been there 3 or 4 days. She said, you want to do some laundry? And I said, yeah, I need to do some laundry. She said, oh, come here. Walks me over to the laundry room, and puts all my dry clothes in the dryer because she doesn't know how the freaking how that washing machine works. But that's fine. I don't have you know what? I don't know how my lawnmower works because I don't have a lawnmower. I ain't never gonna. I have a lawnmower. His name is Jose.
Right.
I'm never gonna know.
Right.
The
Amelia and Gabe do my laundry.
So the point is, you've got to sit down when you come out into phase 3 and say, okay, I'm in phase 3, and I think I should be able to make $100,000 a year doing this. Let's say that's your goal. Well, now you're at $367 a day, and what idiots will do will be get people on phone calls and say, yeah, I can do that for you. And my retainer's $5,000.
Nuts.
You know, when really you don't need to make.
Let's not call them idiots.
No, they're idiots. They shouldn't do that, especially if they don't really know what they're doing.
I think that there is a misconception that
and they pull that $5,000 ticket out of their ass, just out of
100%. I agree with you, but here's the problem in the state of the world that we live in today. Is what was the post I just saw today? Oh my God, Napoleon Hill was the greatest scammer of all time.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely true. There's tons and tons and tons written on this. But from Napoleon Hill era to now, you have all of these gurus writing all of these books, saying all of these things, telling you that you're not good enough or that you have to charge this much. And they're believing them. And since they're following gurus that don't know how to do it, and they're paying them that amount of money, why can't they charge it too?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't call them idiots. I would say they bought into the lie. But this is also why there's some of us have been doing the same thing decade after decade after decade. We evolve with the time. You've evolved with the time, but you've been the same person. You've done the same thing decade after decade after decade.
Fundamentals of human behavior don't change. Modalities do.
Right. Whether it be that you're doing direct mail because it's 1980 or you're teaching people how to write copy and books with AI. You have fundamentally done the same exact thing. So I have fundamentally done the same thing over and over and over and over again for decades. And so you look at these gurus and they've changed what they're doing completely every 2-3 years. Why? Because they pissed through all the people that were paying $5,000 and they found a new pool.
Now they got to go reinvent themselves as the new whatever.
In the new pool that
But if you think about this $100,000 thing, you just say, look, I got to make $367 a day.
Right.
And you know what? If you're really good, you might make that in the first hour when you wake up.
Right.
And if you're not really good, look at the David Goggins example.
Oh.
Goggins is amazing. So Goggins goes to Jesse Itzler, goes to Goggins. He said, what do you want to do? Well, I want to be able to do 100 pull-ups. Okay, let's do them. Let's see how many you do. He hops on the bar and he does 3. He says, great. He says, I can do 3. Okay, what do you want to do now? Wait a minute, do 3 more. We're staying here till you do 100 pull-ups, right? So that $367
repetition
might take you 20 hours of a day for a while. But if you're committed to it enough, you'll get it. Yeah. But most people hit that point of resistance.
They hit the 3, they get the 3, and then they go, oh, time to go find a new thing.
Yeah. Or what's on my TikTok feed, or what am I going to watch on Netflix?
Repetition.
Yeah. And that muscle gets working. So as an example of this, we were going to talk about, and this is probably going to be outside most people's realm, but we do a thing, Em and I do a thing together called Make It Real. And we bring people in and we that have kind of a fuzzy idea around what they're going to do, or they've started something they accidentally fell into. And the idea is to go back, pretend like we just bought the company and make this a real business, right? And we're in a debate right now whether we're going to continue to do it or not. Because you broke down the hours, I think. I don't know if you remember the numbers.
I don't really remember the numbers, but I can roughly.
Yeah. So basically, I don't know.
It's the least amount of money that we make in all the things that we do.
I think we were both having the feeling that while this is a really good thing for the people who go,
it really helps the people.
It's amazing.
We make very little, but the product itself is phenomenal for the people we serve.
So basically, you come in for 3 days. I spend most of the first days with me getting we do all your branding. We do your brand identity, your mission statement, your avatar, start the design of your logo and all your brand identity, your picture,
understand what the product is, style guide,
product offering, pricing,
messaging
stuff. And then the next day, Emma comes in and does all your legal setup with your, helps you with set up your corporation and your operating agreement.
Or reset up.
And reset all this stuff where you don't make these mistakes. And then we come back in together on the third day. I'm usually off filming an interview with these folks. So they've got a reel, to put up about their business and what it is. And
then we're creating a real business with what the business is going to accomplish in the first year, and then broken down into goals each
that's
quarter.
The last day that we come together and work on the goal setting for the year and a 1-year plan, executing on it. And we don't charge much money for it, right? So we charge, I think, $2,000, right?
For Ignite members, it's
$2,000 for Ignite members, $5,000 for outside. And it's mostly Ignite members. These are people already in our community. So we really want to do it for them. But
the thing is that it really helps them, because when you have all of this knowledge and all of the courses that we teach and all of the things, but you don't have a vehicle to actually implement it all.
They got all the skills. I always say they bought
diapers before they birthed the baby.
But they don't have a baby yet, right?
Right. So we want to help them have the baby. And it's been a phenomenal tool for them.
Amazing.
But
it sucks for us.
It sucks for us because we can only put about 12 people in a room over the 3 days. It takes a lot of our time if we're doing it well. And so if we're charging Ignite members $2,000, we're paying a videographer to be in there to film to tape. My age.
We might be making $10,000-$12,000 maybe on a great one of these. We make $10,000-$12,000. So there's a thing that we sell inside there so we can make more. But even if it's $20,000 or $30,000, it eats a weekend for me.
It's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
It eats a weekend for the people. Really need to do it on weekends because a lot of them still have full-time jobs.
So they can't do it during the week.
They can't do the week.
We can sit with one private client.
Yeah. So we got to block out 4 weekends a year to do this.
And then the upsell, we have to block out another 4 weekends a year.
So now next week, we're tired of
right?
Because we didn't get the weekend break that you got to sit around and watch Netflix or whatever that you.
And I'm punching out at 5, and all I did what you asked me to do for $90K.
So we're not doing that stuff. So now we're trying to decide. We figured out. I think it was $300,000 a year. We thought we'd probably bring in.
I think it was $400,000.
$400,000.
And then we figured out that
you think it'd be kind of a prick to say, well, 4 weekends for $400,000, but
8 weekends. It's 8 weekends.
We got to fulfill on the other thing that we sell, so it's 8 weekends. And for me, honest to God, that pays me about $25,000 a weekend. Is that what it comes out to?
I think so.
About $25,000 a weekend if everything goes just right, right?
And it never goes just right.
It never goes just right. And frankly, my weekend is more to me than $25,000. Because if I'm out of sync next week, because I didn't get to rest and reset it all,
the cost of opportunity loss is, I think, so much greater for us.
So we're probably not going to continue to do that. And you would think probably, if most people came up to you and said, "Hey, I'm going to pay you $25,000 a week to do a thing. Do you want to go do that?" Well, truth is,
a weekend.
My day rate when we do private client is $25,000 a day. So $25,000 for a 3-day weekend or $25,000 a day to do private client. I can get
$25,000 for a 3-day weekend or $25,000 on a private client, and it's bye.
Yeah.
See you, Felicia.
Yeah. And if you decide to move forward from that, it's $100,000 a year or $120,000 a year. So,
and it's a day, and it's always a Tuesday, and it's always a Tuesday, not a weekend.
And it's a Tuesday because they're real business people, right?
From 9 to 4 instead of we start at 8 a.m. and we go till 6, sometimes 7 for 3 days.
And these are people. Now you got to know who to charge that money to. You can't charge. I would never, ever. There's a lot of people that do it. I would never charge people $20,000, $30,000 that didn't have a multi-million-dollar business already. Some way they could ROI that investment where I know they're going to get back $250,000 because it comes back to my 10X. And most of the people that are in those realms, they're getting back many times.
Right. They're spending $25,000 with us, and we're giving them advice on how to make $60 million.
They're going to do one or two things. They're either going to spend the whole time arguing,
right,
and get nothing out of it,
and never come back again. We're never going to let them back again.
Or they're going to go implement. They're going to go make another $1 million, and they're going to want to rebook next quarter to come do it again. So for you, $25,000, it might be all the money in the world on a weekend. And God knows there are weekends I would have killed people in my life, lots of them, and stacked them up in piles and took them to the dump for 25 grand.
That was a long time.
There are times I didn't have food. I promise you, I've been broker than probably almost anybody on this call. I'm from Paducah, Kentucky. It's a sound a dead body makes when it hits the floor. I grew up with a single mom. I spent 2 weeks one time with nothing to eat but peanut butter. And I was happy that we had peanut butter, right? So I've been as broke as anybody here. So it's hard for me, because I'm a poor boy. I want to pick every dollar up off the ground. And it's a disease. When you grow up poor, I think a lot more than most people do about losing the money that I have. I think a lot more about it than most people do, because when you come up,
you don't want to go back from.
I never had a goal to be rich. I just had a goal to not be poor. So I've been in a war against poverty my whole life. So it has nothing to do how much I have. Hell, I don't know how much I have a lot of the time, but I know I'm not poor, and that's what matters. And I know that it would take a pretty devastating thing to make me poor. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. It can certainly happen because it's happened before. But so I think we're probably going to we've either got to figure out one or two things. We got to figure out how to sell that thing for more money. And I'm only comfortable selling it for a certain amount because the people have to be able to get a big ROI from it.
Right.
Or we've got to figure out how to deliver it more efficiently at a larger scale. Those are the only two things. Or we have to quit.
Right.
So there's the three options, right? And that's going to be true with whatever you do, because once you hit that phase 3 and you do have a value to your money, and as that value accelerates, and it'll accelerate from 100,000 to $1 million, 100,000 if I should say it, 100,000 to 500 grand accelerates pretty quick. A lot of people get stuck around 500 grand. And once you get to $1 million, getting to 2 is easy. The first $1 million is very, very hard. Getting to 2 is quite easy and then beyond. But I'm at a point in my life, and I know Emma is, where people come to me all the time. Hey, I got a great opportunity for you. Can you just, I've got this great widget. It's the greatest widget ever. All I needed you to do is sell it, right? Well, no shit, dude. That's kind of one of the hardest things. But the thing is, and they get pissed, especially my friends, if I don't want to take a thing on. But man, for me to pick a thing up, I have to lay a thing down. We were sitting in a meeting just a few weeks ago, and we had a company that offered us almost $2 million to do a thing this year. And we'd taken a lot of travel, and it just, gosh, I can't imagine a time in my life
You turned down $2 million
that I would turn down $2 million. I just can't imagine in a 1 year period of time, how do I turn down $2 million? It sounds impossible, but I had officially turned it down, but I've all but turned it down. I've just ignored it.
We're arguing about it a little.
Yeah. But I would love to do it. And I like the company. I like the people. I like everything about it. It would be good exposure for me. It'd be plenty of cash. It'd be a fun thing to do. But I'm going to have to lay down these things over here that are already making me a lot of money.
A lot more than $2 million.
And while I'm out attempting to do this new thing, I could even make that $2 million over here and lose that $2 million over here and end up with a wash and nothing and just be exhausted at the end of the year.
Right.
Right. So I think that, but I don't know if this was confusing or helpful to you, but hopefully it was. Just really, number one, dispel the lie of trading time for money is a bad thing. Number two, when you're learning a new skill, invest a little bit of money in the skill, get good at the skill. Hell, you can learn damn near anything on YouTube now. You don't need to go buy courses anymore and all that shit. You learn almost anything on YouTube. People learn like crazy. Nobody executes, right? If you execute on the thing, but go do it before you go sell it to somebody else to do, because you're going to end up looking like an asshole. You're probably not going to sell. And the worst thing that happens is you get the sell and you screw it up and you screw up your reputation. You can't get that reputational capital back. I always say that the worst thing a person could do is invite a bunch of people to their restaurant when the food tastes like shit, because you're never going to get them to come back a second time.
Right.
And they're going to tell 100 people, if the food's great, they're going to tell 2 people. If the food sucks, they're going to tell 100 people. That place sucks. And you're going to suck. And once a person starts selling you as a sucky provider, it's very hard to recover from that. So just do something that's of great value to them. Then figure out, what do you think your time's worth? And then maybe the first year it's worth $100,000. Maybe next year you go, I'd like to think I'm worth $250,000. And the next year maybe you're worth $500,000. And the next year maybe you're worth $1 million. And maybe you accelerate that a lot faster than that based on what's going to accelerate that, by the way, is not you.
Supply and demand.
It's supply and demand and the ROI that you deliver to the client. That's what's going to determine that. And then start doing the things like we're doing, where you sit down and you do a time budget and say, I got X time because, Emma said, that you can't buy, you can't,
It's okay. You're just stroking out for a minute. Just take a dip.
But depends, but it is one thing that's really interesting about time, beyond that you can't buy more of it. It's the only thing that we all have the exact equal amount of. We have the exact equal amount of time
Per day. We don't all have the same exact amount of time.
That's true. But
some of us are going to die at 50. Some of us are going to die at 90. But how you choose to invest each day
that is the determining factor of the success level of your life. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was about time, kind of a boring subject, but
I think it's a very exciting.
Let me give you one more little tip. Once you get
the tip.
Just the tip. It's the tip. That's all most can handle. Once you get to a point,
because it's all wrinkly and floppy.
It's like the size of a beer can. The one thing I learned a long time ago that's really interesting, I learned from somebody else. I called a buddy of mine. I said, somebody wants me to do this thing. How should I price it? I don't know how to price it. And because they're asking me, well, what do you want? This was an equity thing. They wanted me to take I wanted equity in the business to do a certain thing for them. And how much equity do you want? And they gave me this brilliant phrase. If you're going to write down something, there's a writer downer. And I said, well, I'm going to call him Mr. Jones. I went back after the call. I said, Mr. Jones, my attention is directly commensurate to my reward. So you tell me. And you let them set the price. And if they devalue you, it's easy to walk away. But I'll tell you what'll generally happen. They'll usually offer you more money than you were going to price the thing. And I try to back down from that. Because if they say, well, I'll give you 25%, I'll say, why don't we do this? Why don't we do 10% and see how we function? Right. That way, we're always, and then everybody feels good walking away from the table because you want everybody to feel good. And sometimes you don't know how to charge. It's very difficult to figure out how to charge people. So hopefully that helps you. Emma, anything else?
No, this is great. I love talking about time and allocation of time and how you should allocate your time and how you should look at, we got on this whole thing several years ago going through our Rocket VAs, how to sell it.
Yeah.
And if you're not the assistant, you are the assistant.
Yeah, you don't have an assistant, you are.
And it was all about creating calculators so people understood where should your time be spent and what are you losing when you're spending it on the wrong thing. So I love that we did this.
And by the way, if you love mowing the grass and it brings you joy,
you should mow the grass.
Then you should mow the grass. If that's
I've never done laundry and felt happy about it.
If that's where you clear your head.
Right.
And it makes you feel good because some people do that. Some people really like
I love to cook. I love to cook. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love to cook.
It'd be great if you were good at it. I ate dinner at Emma's once. She made meatloaf and it glowed in the.
I've never made meatloaf in my life. You're a marketer. You just lie all the time. And that made me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here on The Train Wreck. See you soon. Bye.